ஆம். அவுஸ் பில்லாஹி மினஷ் ஷைத்தானிர் ரஜீம். பிஸ்மில்லாஹிர் ரஹ்மானிர் ரஹீம். ஸ்கில்ஸ் மாஸ்டர் ஸ்டுடியோஸ் 2 வாரங்களுக்கு ஒரு முறை நடாத்தி வருவதற்கு ஏற்பாடு செய்து இப்பொழுது ஆரம்பிக்கப்பட இருக்கின்ற, நீங்கள் அனைவரோடும் ஆவலோடு எதிர்பார்த்து காத்திருந்த டாக் வித் அச்சீவர்ஸின் 2வது எபிசோட் அல்லது டாக் 2 இப்பொழுது ஆரம்பிக்கப்பட இருக்கிறது. இந்த வகையிலே உங்களுக்கு தெரியும், டாக் 1 இலங்கையின் யூடியூப் பிரபலம் டிகா ப்ரோ அவர்கள் கலந்து கொண்டார்கள். அந்த வகையிலே இன்றைய டாக் வித் அச்சீவர்ஸிலே எங்களோடு இணைந்து கொள்கின்றவர் யார், எப்படி அவரது சாதனை பயணம் என்பதை குறித்து நாங்கள் இந்த தொடரிலே பார்க்க இருக்கிறோம். அந்த வகையிலே இந்த வீடியோ இப்பொழுது நேரடியாக ஃபேஸ்புக்கினூடாக உங்களுக்கு பார்க்க முடியாக இருக்கும். எனவே உங்களுக்கு தெரிந்தவர்களுக்கு, நண்பர்களுக்கு, உறவுகளுக்கு இத்தகையதொரு அழகான சாதனை பயணத்தை, ஒரு இளம் வயதில் இருக்கின்றவர் அடைந்திருக்கின்ற சாதனை பயணத்தை பலருடனும் பகிர்ந்து கொள்வதனூடாக பலருக்கும் அது பயனளிக்கும் என்று கருதுகிறோம். எனவே மாணவர்களே, நீங்கள் மறக்காமல் இவற்றை உங்களது நண்பர்கள், உறவினர்களுக்கு ஷேர் செய்து ஒத்துழைக்குமாறு கேட்டுக்கொண்டு இப்பொழுது நாங்கள் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்குள் நுழைய இருக்கிறோம். இந்த வகையில் நிகழ்ச்சிக்குள் நுழைவதற்கு முன்பாக சில ஒழுங்குகளை நாங்கள் ஞாபகப்படுத்துகின்றோம். குறிப்பாக உங்களுக்கு வினாக்கள் ஏதும் வருகின்ற பொழுது கடைசி 15 நிமிடங்கள் உங்கள் வினாக்களுக்கான நேரம் ஒதுக்கி வைக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. எனவே உங்களுக்கு அந்த நேரத்தில் உங்கள் கேமராவை ஆன் பண்ணி உங்களது மைக்கை அன்மியூட் பண்ணுகின்ற, கையை தூக்குகின்ற பொழுது நாங்கள் அதற்குரிய ஆப்ஷனை உங்களுக்கு ஏற்பாடு செய்து தருவோம். குறிப்பாக அல்டிமேட் அச்சீவர் பயிற்சியில் இருக்கின்ற மாணவர்கள் உங்களுக்காக நாங்கள் விசேடமாக நீங்கள் இந்த பயிற்சியில் இருக்கின்றவர்கள் என்ற வகையில் கையை தூக்குகின்ற பொழுது உங்களுக்கான வாய்ப்பு வழங்கப்படும். இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை ஃபேஸ்புக்கினூடாக பார்த்து கொண்டிருக்கின்றவர்களும் உங்களுக்கான வாய்ப்பும் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியில் வழங்கப்படும் என்பதை தெரிவித்துக் கொண்டு இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியிலே நாங்கள் இப்பொழுது இணைந்து கொள்ள போகிறோம். அந்த வகையிலே இந்த நிகழ்ச்சி ஃபேஸ்புக்கினூடாக நேரடியாக இப்பொழுது வழங்கப்பட இருக்கிறது. இன்னும் 2 நிமிடங்களில் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை உங்களுக்கு நேரடியாக கண்டு கழிக்கலாம். அந்த வகையிலே இன்று இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை நடத்துவதற்காக, தொடர்ந்து மொடரேட் பண்ணுவதற்காக, குறிப்பாக நாடளாவிய ரீதியிலே பல வித்தியாசமான வழிகாட்டல்களை, இத்தகைய நிகழ்ச்சிகளை வழங்கி வருகின்ற ருஷ்டி ஹாதி எங்களோடு இணைந்து கொண்டிருக்கிறார். அந்த வகையில் நாங்கள் இப்பொழுது ருஷ்டி ஹாதிக்கு இந்த ஒளி வாங்கி இந்த நேரத்தில் அவருக்கு இந்த வாய்ப்பை வழங்குவதற்கு முன்பாக மீண்டும் ஒரு முறை ஞாபகப்படுத்துகின்றேன். உங்களுக்கு ஏதும் சந்தேகங்கள் வருகின்ற பொழுது சாட் பாக்ஸிலே உங்களுக்கு இடலாம் என்பதையும் தெரிவித்துக் கொண்டு நாங்கள் இப்பொழுது இந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்குள் நுழைய இருக்கிறோம். இதோ ஸ்கில்ஸ் மாஸ்டர் ஸ்டுடியோஸின் டாக் வித் அச்சீவர் டாக் 2 இதோ ஆரம்பமாகிறது. எங்கே ருஷ்டி ஹாதி?
அஸ்ஸலாமு அலைக்கும் வரஹ்மத்துல்லாஹி வபரகாத்துஹு. ஸோ ஸ்கில்ஸ் மாஸ்டர் ஸ்டுடியோ இனால் டாக் வித் அச்சீவர்ஸ் என்ற ஒரு சீரீஸ் நாங்கள் நடத்தி வருகிறோம். அந்த டாக் வித் அச்சீவர்ஸ் சீரீஸ்ட ஒரே ஆப்ஜெக்டிவ் என்னன்னு சொன்னால், பல்வேறு துறைகளில் சாதித்த நபர்களை கொண்டு வந்து அவங்களுடைய ரியல் லைஃப் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸை நாங்கள் ஷேர் பண்ணுறது. இப்படி ஷேர் பண்ணுறதுனால ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸுக்கும் மற்ற பப்ளிக் ஆடியன்ஸுக்கும் ஒவ்வொருத்தர் வித்தியாசமான ஃபீல்டில் அச்சீவ் பண்ணுறதுக்காக அவங்க என்னென்ன மாதிரியான டெடிக்கேஷனை இருந்திருக்கிறாங்க, எப்படி அவங்க ட்ரீம் ஒன்று ஏற்படுத்தி கொண்டிருக்காங்க, அந்த ட்ரீமுக்காக அவங்களோ எவ்வளோ டெவலப் பண்ணி கொண்டிருக்கிறாங்க, டெடிகேட் பண்ணிக்கிறாங்க, அதனூடாக அவங்க ட்ரீமுக்களை எப்படி அடைந்து கொண்டாங்கன்ற பல ரியல் லைஃப் ஸ்டோரிஸ் நாங்கள் ஷேர் பண்ணுறதுக்காக தான் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை நாங்கள் ஆரம்பித்தோம். ஸோ அதில் 2வது நிகழ்ச்சி தான் இன்றைக்கு நடக்க போகுது. இன்றைய நிகழ்ச்சியில் இணைந்து கொள்றவர் நாங்கள் ஏற்கனவே உங்களுக்கு ஷேர் பண்ணியிருந்தோம். எங்களோட ஃப்ளையர்ஸ் எல்லாம் ஆசிம் தாசிம், அவர் ஒரு விசேஷமான அச்சீவர், யங்கஸ்ட் அச்சீவர். உண்மையில சொல்ல போனா யூஎஸ்ஏ இருக்கிற மிகவும் டஃப்பான டஃபஸ்ட் 3rd கடினமான எக்ஸாம்ல 3வது லெவல் இருக்கிற ஃபிளைட் இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்டர் எக்ஸாம்ல 85% மக்கள் அதுல பார்ட்டிசிபேட் பண்றாங்க. ஃபெயிலார் அப்படியான ஒரு எக்ஸாம்ல கூட பாஸ் பண்ணி இன்றைக்கு யூஎஸ்ஏல ஒரு ஃபிளைட் இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்டரா, நார்மலா அனைவருக்கும் தெரிஞ்ச பைலட், எஸ், அவர் ஒரு விமான ஓட்டுநர். பைலட்டுக்கும் அடுத்த ஸ்டெப்பாக போவது என்னன்னு சொன்னால் ஃபிளைட் இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்டர் என்பது அவர் இன்னும் பைலட்களை உருவாக்குற ஒரு ஆளா 20 வயசுல இந்த ஃபிளைட் இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்டர் எக்ஸாமினேஷனை பாஸ் பண்ணின ஒரு சாதனையாளராக இருக்கிறார் ஆசிம் தாசிம். ஸோ ஆசிம் தாசிம் எங்களோட நினைச்சு கொண்டு அதே நேரம் நான் இந்த கண்ட்ரோல் ரூம்ல கேட்கிறேன், ஆசிம் தாசிம் சம்பந்தமா நாங்க சின்ன ஒரு ப்ரிப்பரேஷன் வீடியோ ஒன்று அரேஞ்ச் பண்ணியிருந்தோம். அப்போ டெக்னிக்கல் ஃபெயிலியர்ஸ் இல்லைன்னு அந்த ப்ரிப்பரேஷன் வீடியோ எங்களுக்கு ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாமா?
எஸ், ரெடி ருஷ்டி.
டூ வீடியோஸ். ஸோ ஆசிம் தாசிம் சம்மந்தமா யாருன்றது சம்மந்தமா உங்களுக்கு ஒரு 2 வீடியோஸ் இருக்குது. 2 minutes வீடியோஸ். அதை பார்க்குவோம் ஆடியன்ஸ். தென் வில் கம் டு த ஷோ.
ருஷ்டி இன்னும் ஒரு வீடியோ இருக்கிறது.
ஸோ அது வந்து உண்மை இந்த வீடியோ ஸ்பெஷலிஸ்ட் இந்த இது ஆசிம் ஃபோட்டோ ஃபுட்டேஜ் ஒன்று இருந்த அடுத்த வீடியோவில் வந்து ஃப்ளைட்டில் அவர் இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ட் பண்ணுறது ஃப்ளைட்டில் ஆப்ரேட் ஆகிற சம்பந்தமான ஃபுட்டேஜ் உள்ள இன்னொரு 2 minutes வீடியோ இருக்குது. அதே நாங்கள் பார்க்கலாம். Right. So that's it. So Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the show, Aazim. So we are really grateful and we are excited to have you in this show. So நேயர்களுக்காக நாங்க சொல்லிக் கொடுத்த இந்த ஷோ வந்து 100% மெயின் மீடியம் வந்து தமிழால தான் கொண்டு போவோம். அதே மாதிரி இந்த 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 ஃபீல்ட் சம்பந்தமான சில விடயங்களை நாங்க சொல்லும் போது இங்கிலீஷ் லாங்குவேஜஸ் தேவைப்படும். அதே மாதிரி ஆசிம் வந்து கண்டினியூஸா இங்கிலீஷ் லாங்குவேஜ்ல படித்திருந்த சில சொற்கள் வந்து அவர் கலை சொற்களுக்காக இங்கிலீஷ் தான் யூஸ் பண்ணுவார். அப்படியான சந்தர்ப்பங்களை நான் வந்து அதை டிரான்ஸ்லேட் பண்ணி ஆடியன்ஸ்க்காக வழங்குவோம். பட் பேசிக்கலி நாங்க ஷோவை வந்து தமிழால கொண்டு போவோம். So Assalamu alaikum Aazim, nice to have you here.
Walaikum assalam.
Right.
It's an honor and pleasure to be joining you guys.
Right. So we are having a lot of kids here. அநேகமான மாணவர்களும் உங்கள் ஊரை சேர்ந்தவர்கள் இலங்கையில பல பாகங்களில் இருந்தும் ஆடியன்ஸ் Facebook உடன் இணைந்து கொண்டிருக்கிறார்கள். ஸோ பிஃபோர் தட் ஆடியன்ஸ்க்கு ஒரு விஷயம், நாங்க இந்த ஷோல பார்க்கணும் ஆசிம் இணைஞ்சிருக்கிறது கூட வந்து Tweed New Haven Airport, Connecticut, USA இருந்து தான் இணைஞ்சிக்கிறார். ஸோ அதுல ஒரு சஸ்பென்ஸ் இருக்குது இந்த இவெண்ட்ல. ஏன்டா அவரை வந்து அவரோட ஹோம்ல இருந்து வீட்டுல இருந்து இணையாம நாங்க ஏர்போர்ட்ல இருந்து இந்த ஷோவை எடுக்கிறோம். அதுக்கு காரணம் என்னன்றது இந்த இவெண்ட்டை கடைசி 15 நிமிஷத்துல உங்களுக்கு வேணுங்க. அந்த சஸ்பென்ஸுக்காக தான் நாங்க அவரை இன்னைக்கு ஏர்போர்ட்ல இருந்து இந்த ஷோக்கு இணைச்சு கொள்றோம். ஸோ ஆசிம், இந்த ஷோ இஸ் லைக் திஸ். ஸோ நாங்க முதல்ல வந்து உங்கள்ட்ட செட் ஆஃப் கொஸ்டின்ஸ் உங்கள்ட்ட கேட்கிறோம். அதுல ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ரவுண்ட் ஆஃப் கொஸ்டின்ஸ் வந்து டிரெக்ட் கொஸ்டின்ஸ் டு கெட் சம் இன்ஃபர்மேஷன். ஆசிமை பத்தியான introduction, basic information பெற்று கொடுத்ததுக்காக நான் சிங்கிள் one questions கேட்பேன். அந்த questions-க்கு direct answers நீங்க தமிழ்ல தரலாம். So what your name?
Aazim Thassim.
Aazim Thassim. Born and brought up, so date of year of birth and born and brought up details.
I was born at 96 at Navalapitiya and was brought up in Hembatagama. Then moved to Colombo when I was around 11, yes, yeah.
Right. So உங்களோட ஃபாதர் மதர் டீடைல்ஸ், அவங்க எங்க, அவங்களோட ஊர் எங்க, ஃபாதர் ஊர் எங்க, மதர் ஊர் எங்க, அவங்களோட டீடைல்ஸ் கொஞ்சம் சொல்லுங்க. They'll be happy to hear, everyone around here.
Yeah, my father is Thassim, Muhammad Thassim. He's actually from Hembatagama or Dumblu, and my mother is from the same town, from Hembatagama. She's from Olan, so her name is Kifaya. Yeah.
Right, great. So then studies. So from play school up until to higher studies. So Sri Lanka நீங்க ஸ்டடி பண்ண எங்க ஸ்கூல்ல எப்ப படிச்சீங்கன்னு சொல்லுங்க.
Well, I started off in Al-Azhar in Hembatagama and stayed there for 1 year, and Adagapuro went to Kampala International School for a year.
Sure.
And then when I was around I guess on the second grade, we moved to Colombo. And I did my primary studies in Al-Manar International up until grade 6. And then from there onwards, I switched to Amal International School in Colombo, all the way up to all of us.
Right.
Yes.
Great. So next, நாங்க இதுல ஆசிம் ஃபுல் ஸ்டோரியும் நாங்க எடுப்போம். அவரோட லைஃப் ஸ்டோரி இருக்கிறதுக்கு வந்து இப்போ ஒரு ஹை லெவல் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங் we need. So where are you now? Where are you living now and what are you doing now? நீங்க எங்க இருக்கீங்க, இப்ப என்ன செஞ்சிருக்கீங்க, இப்ப current situation only. So we'll go to the past later.
Well, I live in Waterbury, Connecticut in USA, and currently I'm freelance instructor, and I'm also working for a flight school and also working on starting my own flight school.
Right. So audience clarifications ka Aazim the story நாங்க வருவோம். ஸோ அவர் ஃப்ரீலான்ஸ் அவர் ஃப்ளைட் ஸ்கூல்ல ஒர்க் பண்றார். ஸோ அவர் ஆல்ரெடி அவர் ஒரு பைலட், பட் அகெயின் ஹீஸ் டீச்சிங் அதர்ஸ் டு பிகம் பைலட்ஸ். ஸோ அப்படித்தான் இது கொண்டு அப்படியான ஒரு இடத்துல இருந்தான், ஒரு ஏர்போர்ட்ல இருந்தா நாங்க இன்றைக்கு அவரை ஷோக்கு எடுத்துக்கிறோம். ஸோ now the biggest question, so you can elaborate on that, so the stories and everything you can bring into the show, right? So நாங்க முதல்ல போவோம். ஸோ ஆடியன்ஸ்க்கு pilot is a unique ambition in Sri Lanka. Normally, yes. if you take 10 people, 10 பேர் எடுத்தா எப்படியும் பாய்ஸ்ல 2-3 பேர், sometimes girls also, I want to become a pilot னுவாங்க. பட் அது ஒரு ambition அப்படியே vanish ஆகி போயிடும். It's not like a doctor, engineer or lawyer. It comes and goes. So most of the time எங்க ஆடியன்ஸுக்கு கூட ரியல் லைஃப்ல எங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்ச நெட்வொர்க்ல ஒரு ஆள் பைலட்டிங் செஞ்சு பிராக்டிஸ் பண்ணி அதுல ஹை லெவல் அச்சீவ்மெண்ட்டுக்கு போன ஒரு ஆள் தான் நீங்க. So we need the whole story. So first question for you is like, where, right, for the first time, when did you got the idea of becoming a pilot? So எப்படி உங்களுக்கு இந்த inspiration, இந்த ambition வந்துச்சு? Which age?
Before I start off, could you hear me well?
Yeah. You just make it more into Tamil also, right? Please.
Okay, all right. So everything started, I think, when I was around 8 years, Lamari. Like my parents took me to Umrah. So
8 years, not grade 8, 8 years. Okay, right.
8 years, yeah, 8 years. Like I think around that age, my parents took me to Umrah. So Umrah Popole, like that's when I first saw an airplane. I saw this huge airplane. I still remember the memories. It was a 747 Saudi Arabian Airlines.
Right.
Anyway, so I was in fascination and awe at the airplane I can't afford. Like, and then since then I always wanted to, explore this. And I was just fascinated how huge that airplane was, and just to know that a small human flies that huge machine, that's when my passion grew for aviation. Ever since then, that was always in the back of my head, to become a pilot. And that's the beginning of everything.
Right. The students, you can see one thing, right? So his ambition and inspiration வந்து அவர் just 8 yearsல இருந்துச்சு. இன்றைக்கு அவர் 20+ years ஆகி அதை அச்சீவ் பண்ண போறோம். அவர் இன்னும் still remembers that aircraft name. அந்த ஏர்கிராஃப்ட் நேம் அவருக்கு இன்னும் ஞாபகம் இருக்குது. இதுதான் ஆம்பிஷன், இதுதான் ட்ரீம். இப்ப நீங்களும் தெரிய வேண்டிய முக்கியமான ஒரு விஷயம் வந்து, நீங்க இஃப் யூ லவ் சம்திங், இப்ப உங்களுக்கு சின்ன காலத்துல யூ வில் ஃபெல் இன் லவ் வித், அதாவது உங்களுக்கு ஒரு அட்டாச்மெண்ட் வரும். அது ஃபாரெவர் நீங்க அதை கண்டினியூ பண்ணண்டா, அது ஃபாரெவர் லைஃப்ல இருக்கும். அந்த ஃபீல்டு என்னன்றது நீங்களும் கட்டாயம் சர்ச் சர்ச்சை கண்டினியூ பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கணும். ஸோ ஆசிம் அப்ப இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன் ஸ்டார்டட் ஃப்ரம் உம்ரா. அதுல தான் ஃபிளைட்டை கண்டிக்கிறாரு. அதுக்கு பிறகுதான் சர்ச் பண்ணிக்கிறாரு. உம்ராவுக்கு போயிட்டு வந்ததுக்கு பிறகு, ஸோ நீங்க அதுக்கு பிறகுதான் ஃபிளைட் சம்பந்தமா தேடி நீங்க ஐ வாண்ட் டு பிகம் அ பைலட்னு ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணீங்க அப்படி?
Yes. Umrah போயிட்டு வந்தப்போ, yes. Since then, I always wanted to become a pilot, and even I made my parents buy me airplane toys. I was a kid back then, so since then, and and then towards my secondary school, and towards when I was completing my O-level, I started doing my own research into aviation. Started looking up aviation schools, but the research planning, like throughout, around different parts of the world. Started doing a lot of research by myself, because like you said, it's not a common field that a lot of people explore. So like I had nobody to get help from, so I was handcuffed, and I had to do most of the research by myself. And I started doing it since I would say around 9th or 10th grade, looking into what my future was. So on the time later, like every time I had a chance to Google something, it was aviation related.
Exactly. அது ஒரு பாயிண்ட். வெரி குட். ஸோ ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் இங்க பார்க்கலாம், அவர் இன்ஸ்பயர் ஆயினத்துல இருந்து அவர் அதை பத்தி தான் whenever அவர் கூகுளுக்கு போயிருந்த டைம் எல்லாம் he started searching about it, ஏவியேஷன், பைலட்டிங், ஏர்கிராஃப்ட் சம்பந்தமா. இதுதான் ஒரு ஆள்கிட்ட தேடுன்றது. அப்ப நீங்க உங்களுடைய லைஃப்ல என்ன ஆம்பிஷன் இருந்தாலும் கூட நீங்க அதுக்காக எஃபர்ட் ஒன்று போடணும். எப்பயும் நீங்க சர்ச் பண்ணணும், அதுக்குள்ள அதான் ஃபீல்ட் உள்ளாக்கல கனெக்ட் ஆகணும். இந்த தேடல் தான் ஒரு ஆளை கொண்டு சேர்த்தும் அந்த பெரிய அச்சீவ்மெண்ட். ஸோ தட் எக்ஸாம்பிள் இஸ் ஹியர். அப்ப ஆசிம், நான் இன்னும் ஒரு ஸ்டெப் பிரேக் ஆகி கேட்டேன்டா. அப்ப இந்த அச்சீவ்மெண்ட்ல இந்த ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டியை வந்து நீங்க ஒரு டேர்னிங் பாயிண்டா எப்படி உங்களுக்கு இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் கிடைச்சது? பிகாஸ் நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி மிச்சம் பேர் உங்களுக்கு இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன் யாரும் இல்ல போய் கேட்கறதுக்கு. அப்ப நீங்க கூகுள் சர்ச் பண்ணிட்டீங்க. அப்ப அப்படியே போய் ஒரு சம்டைம்ஸ் ஒரு டேர்னிங் பாயிண்ட் இருந்திருக்கும். இதனாலதான் உங்களுக்கு இந்த ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி வந்திருக்கலாம். அப்படி மாதிரி நடந்துச்சா ஸ்டோரி ஒன்று இன் யுவர் லைஃப்?
Oh yes. அந்த டைம்ல like மிச்சம் இடத்துல like I was doing a lot of researches back then, like and I found a couple of schools in Malaysia and Maldives, and I started talking about it with my parents. Okay. One thing I would take this opportunity to thank is my parents, because my parents understood my passion from a very young age, and especially my father, who understood how serious I was into aviation. So if it wasn't for his help, I wouldn't be where I am today, because he understood my passion. And because it takes guts for a parent to understand when his or her child is having a passion which is not common, எனக்கு இருந்த passion வந்து common இல்ல. So for him to understand that and then to support me, that's the reason. That's the reason behind everything. So, and after my O-levels, me and my father, we traveled to Malaysia to look up into this school. And when we went there, some of the things didn't work out. So we started looking for more schools. I started looking up for schools in Maldives, India. The idea was to stay around Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
Yeah, because my mother didn't want me to go anywhere far. Yeah, so idea was to stay around Sri Lanka. So I was looking up for schools around Sri Lanka, but at the time, like I didn't have any luck. I would say for a stretch of 6 months, and I go like searching everywhere, like didn't find any luck. And finally, I think I went to this exhibition in Kandy, edX exhibition in
Right,
Kandy.
edX Express, edX exhibition Kandy. So again, so better put some Tamil words also. Yeah.
Yes.
Multiple crowd.
Yeah.
Okay, edX
Okay. And the time like this was like almost 6 months gone by, and like
so
the point
6
where
months
I
வந்து மலேசியா, மால்டீவ்ஸ், ஸ்ரீலங்கா கிட்டுள்ள இடத்துல எல்லாம் நீங்க இந்த opportunity search பண்ணிட்டே ஒன்றும் வரல, ஒன்றும் ப்ராப்பரா வரல. So 6 months gone, so you are going to Kandy edX exhibition க்கு போறீங்க, right? அங்க நடந்துச்சு.
Yes, like this at the time like I started sending emails to many different schools around the country, and finally I went to this edX exhibition in Kandy, and out of the blue, which I didn't expect this, and somebody just came out of nowhere, and he was just handing over flyers, leaflets. Leaflets, handles. Like I took one because I saw an airplane on the leaflet, so I took the leaflet. So and I saw this leaflet is about a school in United States, and United States was never the plan. US was never the plan. Like and I know for sure my mother would never send me anywhere that far. So and I took it and took it back home, and then I didn't even tell my mother. I just emailed the school, and they replied me, I think the next day. And then we were going back and forth with emails. I'm getting all these details, and I'm excited because this looks like this looks like something that might work out for me. So everything's falling into place. But on the time that like I didn't tell in the beginning, I didn't tell my mom, because my mom, I know she wouldn't send me that far, because like any other mom, like she's very protective. Anyway, so like finally I had to break the news, and then my parents made the decision to give it a try.
I come to that. So I just summarized them. So students, இல்ல முக்கியமான ஒரு இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் இருக்குது. இது எல்லாரோட லைஃப் ஸ்டோரியிலும் இப்படிதான். ஒரு சேயிங் இருக்குது, fortune favors the brave, and person who puts lot of effort, the luck will come. So Aazim 6 monthsக்கு மேல ட்ரை பண்றாரு. அவரோட ambition, யூனிக் ambition ஆயிக்குது. எப்படி பைலட் ஆவறன்னு சொல்லி வீட்டோட இருக்கோன்றால வீட்டுக்கு கிட்டுள்ள கண்ட்ரிஸ் எல்லாம் ட்ரை பண்றாரு. ஒன்றும் இல்ல, லாஸ்ட். ஸ்ரீலங்கால வந்து ஒரு எக்ஸிபிஷனுக்கு போறாரு. அப்படி போகல, ஒரு ஜஸ்ட் ஒரு லீஃப்லெட் இருக்குது, ஃபிளைட் பிக்சர் ஒன்று இருக்குது. அந்த லீஃப்லெட் எடுக்கிறாரு, பார்த்தாங்களா ஆக்சிடென்ட்லி ஒரு யுனைடெட் ஸ்டேட்ஸ்ல இருக்கிற ஒரு ஸ்கூல் ஒன்று வருது. அங்க ஃபிளைட் ஸ்டடி பண்ணலாம், ஏவியேஷன் ஸ்டடி பண்ணலாம், பைலட் கோர்சஸ் இருக்குன்னு விளங்குறாரு. ஸோ அதை எடுத்து அந்த டைம் கூட பேரண்ட்ஸுக்கு தெரியாது. ஏண்டா வீட்டுல எல்லா வீட்லயும் மாதிரி தாய்மார் வந்து பிள்ளைல கிட்ட வச்சதுக்கு அமெரிக்கா மாதிரி ஆயிரக்கணக்கு மைலுக்குள்ள எடுத்துக்க விரும்ப மாட்டாங்க. ஸோ ஆசிம் வந்து இமெயில் போட்டு அந்த ஃபிளைட் இந்த ஸ்கூலோட கண்டினியூ பண்ணி இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் எல்லாம் எடுத்துக்க போறதா மாதிரி, ரைட், ஓகே, இவருக்கு இந்த ஸ்டடிஸ் பண்ணலாம், நீங்க இது குவாலிஃபைடா இருக்கிறீங்க, நீங்க போகலாம்னு சொல்லி. ரைட் Aazim? So just a question. So this is after O level, I guess, Aazim.
This is after O levels, yes. Right. And adukaporo I traveled to US, and adukaporo like after 2 months they send me the visa processing documents. Adukaporo US embassy the visa interview for to like US embassy created visa interview attend pani, and three people went along with me, and I was the only person to get the visa.
Oh, right. So that is in a minimum story. திருப்பி அங்கே அந்த சிச்சுவேஷன்ல அகைன் அந்த எஃபர்ட்டுக்காக யூஎஸ் அப்ளை பண்ண 3 பேர்ல ஆசிமுக்கு மட்டும் தான் அந்த செலக்ஷன் கிடைக்குது. ஸோ தட்ஸ் வாட் when you put your effort, நீங்க ரைட் பண்ணி நினைச்சா அல்லாஹ் தஆலாட்டி அந்த டைரக்ஷன்ல உங்களுக்கு சப்போர்ட் கட்டாயம் வருதுறதுக்கு நல்ல ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் ஆசிம், ரைட்? ஸோ யூஎஸ் விசா எடுக்கிறீங்க. ஸோ எப்படி வீட்டில் கன்வின்ஸ் பண்ணீங்க, மதரை கன்வின்ஸ் பண்ண எப்படி? பேரண்ட்ஸ் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைம் ஆஃப்டர் ஓ லெவல்ஸ் லைக் வெரி வெரி யங் பாய், ரைட்? கலம்புக்கே சம்டைம்ஸ் அனுப்புறதுக்கு பேரண்ட்ஸ் பயப்படுவாங்க, thousands of kilometers இருக்காங்கல்ல. ஸோ அந்த ஸ்டோரி எப்படி? ஸோ நீங்க ஸ்கூல்ல இருந்து அரேஞ்ச் ஆயிட்டீங்க, யூஎஸ்க்கு போறது அக்ரிமெண்ட் வீட்டில் எப்படி சொன்னீங்க, அதுக்கப்புறம் எப்படி அமெரிக்காவுக்கு போனீங்க, அந்த ஸ்டோரி?
Well, like I said before, I have to thank my parents because like they at the time then வீட்ல இருந்து எங்கேயும் வெளியே போயிடல except for like my relatives places.
Really?
And,
so வீட்ல இருந்து இதுக்கு முந்தி வெளியே ஒன்றுக்குமே போகாத ஒரு ஆள் 1000 கிலோமீட்டர் இருக்காங்கல்ல அமெரிக்கால பைலட் படிக்க போற கேக்குறாரு. That's the story. அப்படியா?
No, except for my relations places. So other like our friends places. Like where I can go. Anyway, so first they send me. My father trusted me. To be honest, my mother didn't want to send me because, of course, as any mother, she's protective. But the father he put all his trust on me, and then and he just said, you'll be fine, just go. And he saw my passion. So like, and I traveled to US on 2014.
Right. Just a minute, so I'm just connecting back, right? So இதுல பேரண்ட்ஸ் இருப்பாங்க, பேரண்ட்ஸ் பார்த்து கொண்டு இருப்பாங்க. ஒரு முக்கியமான ஒரு பாயிண்ட்டை ஃபிகர் அவுட் பண்ணிட்டு போறேன். ஸோ மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த டைம் எல்லா பேரண்ட்ஸ் மாதிரி ஆசிம் ஆம்பிஷன் இஸ் a weird ambition. லேசி லைக் எல்லாரும் இல்லாத நோமல் இல்லாத ஒரு ஆம்பிஷன்ல அவர் அவ்வளோ ஆஃப்டர் ஆல் வெல்ஸ் பேஷனேட்டா இருந்திருக்கிறாரு. இயர் 8ல இந்த அதுக்கு எஃபர்ட் பண்ணி அது ஒரு ஒரு அச்சீவ்மெண்ட்டுக்கு போகணும்னு போகும்போது அவர் சொல்ற மாதிரி அந்த டேர்னிங் பாயிண்டே பேரண்ட்ஸ் தான். ஸோ தே ஹேட் த ஃபெய்த் இன் ஹிம். 1000 கிலோமீட்டருக்கு அங்கே அமெரிக்காவுக்கு அனுப்பி ஒரு ஓலவலுக்கு போற ஒரு பொடியனை அனுப்புறதுக்காக அவர் சொன்ன மாதிரி his father had this trust. தாய்மார் மாதிரி அம்மாக்கு ஒரு தூரம் போகப்படாதே என்று இது இருந்தாலும் she was backing. அவருடைய ஆம்பிஷனுக்காக அந்த அந்த ஹார்ட்டால சிந்திக்காம பிரெயினால சிந்திச்சு அவங்க 2 பேரும் அவங்க புள்ள மீது அந்த ட்ரஸ்ட்டை வச்சு அமெரிக்காவுக்கு அனுப்புறாங்க. ஸோ 2014ல ஆசிம் அமெரிக்கா ட்ரை பண்றாரு. எத்தனை இயர்ஸ் அந்த டைம்? ஏஜ் வாட் இஸ் யுவர் ஏஜ்? You are muted.
I'm sorry. At the time I was 18.
18 years. Okay. Great. So யூஎஸ்ல எந்த ஸ்கூலுக்கு போறீங்க, எங்க போறீங்க, யூஎஸ்ல போய் லேண்ட் ஆயினா எப்படி, அந்த ஸ்டோரி தட்ஸ் சோ இன்ட்ரஸ்டிங். யாரும் இல்லாத கண்ட்ரில 18-year-old, we know that. So
yes, first time இங்க வந்தப்போ like I stayed with the stayed on the school apartments la irundhen like and but it was like I grew up in a family, grew up along with my parents, and all of a sudden I'm thrown into a different world without anybody around me. Like US law, I had no relations, and I had to figure out to cook, wash clothes, and I had to figure out to do everything by myself. So like you throw a kid in the swimming pool, but the kid doesn't know to swim, but he had to fight to survive. So I had to figure out. It was a fight for survival, but at the time I got support from the school, and I was in the school apartments, and as soon as I arrived, the next day I started my ground school classes for flight training.
Right. So இது ஒரு இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் மிச்சம் பேர் இருப்பாங்க இதுல ஆடியன்ஸ்லயும் தான் மத்தாக்களும் தான். So இந்த clarification, so it's a technical question, right? பைலட்டிங்ல கிரவுண்ட் ஸ்கூல்ன்றது என்ன, வாட் இஸ் இட், ரைட்? நீங்க ஏற்கனவே நாங்க ஒரு ப்ரீ டிஸ்கஷன் அவங்களோட இடத்துல நீங்க இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் சொன்னீங்க, நீங்க என்னென்ன கோர்சஸ் செஞ்சீங்க, பிகாஸ் ஏவியேஷன் டிகிரி இஸ் சம்திங், பைலட்டிங் இஸ் சம்திங் நீங்க சொன்னீங்க, ரைட்? அப்ப நீங்க ஏவியேஷன் டிகிரி ஒன்று போறவு செஞ்சுக்கிறீங்க, தட் வி நோ. ஸோ இந்த ஸ்டெப்ஸ் என்னென்ன ஸ்டெப்ஸ் இருக்குது? நீங்க முதல்ல போய் ஒரு கோர்ஸ் செஞ்சீங்க, அதுக்கு போறோம் இன்னொன்று செஞ்சீங்க, அதோட போன அந்த ஒரு இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் உண்டு.
Ground school and like ground school is basically theoretical portion. So like when you study the books, the theory portion, the ground school like you go through the ground school. When I talk about flying, that's the practical portion. So like when you go to go for a license, there is this ground school portion, and then which is the theory portion, and then the practical portion, which is the flying portion. So that's what I meant. Other than ground school, when you go through the ground classes. Yeah.
Right. So how long it evlo kalam adi first step?
I would say the first license was for took me about 6 months, 5 to 6 months. And then after 5 to 6 months, by the end of 2014, I got my first license, the private pilot license. And I did my ground school and the flying parallelly. Random oriented Los like I got the license in the end of 2014.
2014. So what is the name of the first certification? The license
Private
name?
Private pilot license.
Private pilot license. What is the different than the commercial license?
Well, the private pilot license allows you to fly by yourself. All go to rate pan aircraft fly panel, but you can't get a job with that license. You can't get paid. All work panel on the license. Like if you have your own plane, you can fly, or you can rent a plane and fly, but you can't get paid, or you can't get hired. It's technically licensed to fly. You can fly by yourself, or you can take your friends, but you can't get paid.
Right. So that was the first step. முதல்ல நீங்க அத எடுத்தீங்க, அடுத்த ஸ்டெப்பா தான் கமர்ஷியல் லைசென்ஸ் எடுத்தீங்க.
Yes.
Right. So அப்ப கமர்ஷியல் லைசென்ஸ் எடுக்கிறதுக்கு எவ்வளவு flight hours இருக்கணும்?
You need 250 hours to well, the program requires you 250 hours at the time. Technically 200 hours on favor, but once you reach 200 hours, you can go for the commercial license of Poland. After I finished the private pilot license, I went for a rating, instrument rating, and a rating upon what the another like if you have just a private license, you can fly only in clear skies when the weather is very clear, when there is more visibility. But when you have the instrument rating, like reindeer weather fly panel, like when there's low clouds, inside the clouds, rain. So I went for the rating after the private license, and I started my commercial pilot training. So commercial pilot training took me around another 6 months. This is because I'm full time, because I'm at the school 6 to 7 days a week, even on the weekends.
Okay.
I was doing almost 12 hours a day in the school, because basically we had classes only like 2 to 4 hours a day, but I would just stay at school with some of the other international students, and we would just do nothing but study or just fly the simulator at the school. So we had a simulator at the school. We would just keep flying that all day. So because we managed to do this full time, I was able to get all my license in 1 year.
1 year.
Usually it takes about 2 to 3 years if you when you do part time.
Right. So US க்கு fly பண்ணி US ல லேண்ட் ஆனதுல இருந்து commercial license எடுத்து ஃபுல்லா கம்ப்ளீட் பண்ற போது நீங்க எவ்வளவு what was your age and how long it took, like altogether finally?
When I got my commercial, I was at the end of 18. I think I was approaching 19 years old.
Approaching 19. So in other words, for the first time when you're flying, when you are taking your own aircraft, you are on the 18s.
18s, yeah.
Exactly. Great. Right. So அது வந்து ஒரு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சாப்டர். ஸோ உங்களோட கமர்ஷியல் லைசன்ஸ் எடுத்தீங்க. ஸோ அதுக்கப்புறம் ஸ்டோரி திருப்பி மாறுது. நீங்க சொன்னீங்க கமிங் பேக் டு ஸ்ரீலங்கா. ஸோ வாட் ஹேப்பன் தென் அண்ட் ஹவ் யூ கேம், வாட் வாஸ் எக்ஸ்பெக்டேஷன், என்ன இருந்துச்சு? ஸோ தட் இஸ் த ஸ்டோரி.
வெல், நான் யூஎஸ்க்கு வரப்போகலே my plan was just to get the commercial license and Sri Lanka வந்து like and then apply for a job like a seaplane job or like at the time நான் வந்து I was doing my Cambridge A levels too online, and so once I completed
just a clarification. So when you நீங்க இந்த லைசென்ஸ் எல்லாம் ஸ்டடி அந்த process போகும்போது parallelly you are doing your Cambridge A levels also?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, and then was to come back home and then apply for the national carrier, Sri Lankan Airlines, or even if I couldn't get in, just try a smaller job, on the seaplane market, because at the time we had these seaplane companies that were opening up left and right in the country anyway. So, but when I came back, the industry was very, very different because most of my friends who graduated before me, they didn't get any jobs in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
My pilot friends, because the industry was corrupted and you need influence inside the government to get into the airline. So I had to change
so in
my...
that case, so in your life you come across a hurdle. So first challenge on where you went to US, complete 21 degree, so you're in Sri Lanka, so you're not in a position to get a job in your field what you love, right? So then what went through your mind and how you overcome that?
And then I decided to go back to US and continue to do something different. And that's when I came across this idea of giving a flight instructor certificate a try. So அதுக்கு பரவத்தான் நான் யூஎஸ்க்கு வந்து flight instructor certificate study பண்றது. So and then after I came to US, I started taking this for the second time. US க்கு வந்து like flight instructor certificate ground class apply பண்ணி, and then I started attending the classes. The flight instructor ground classes were long. அது வந்து ஒரு மிச்சம் காலம் போச்சு because you have to basically study everything about aviation, not just flying.
So how many stages in that one? What are the names of the certifications in flight instructor journey?
The beginning, I got my ground instructor license, which allowed me to teach on the ground. And then after that, I went for my flight instructor certificate, which allowed me to teach people to fly on clear weather. And then after that, I got my flight instructor certificate instrument, which allowed me to teach people to fly any weather. So like everything took me about a year and a half, or 1 year and 6 months, like flight instructor certificate. And immediately after I got all my license, I took a small vacation in Sri Lanka and then came back again for third time. Apatan, like I got my first job in a flight school, international flight school. And like I got my first job when I was 20 at the time.
20 years. So your international flight school job at the age of 20. By that time, flight instruction career path, you have achieved the maximum, the biggest exam you have already written. So on the exam, you showed that it was a toughest exam and how tough it is, and what is that certification?
Well, I was the youngest in the class when I attended the flight instructor's ground school. I was the youngest. I was 19. I was like a kid among everybody else because everybody else were way older than me. And from day one, my instructor had confidence in me, and he would make me conduct classes to the rest of the other applicants. And I never knew that I would be able to teach somebody, but that's my instructor's confidence and him trusting me to teach others. That's when I realized, like, like I can teach someone something, like explain panel, like, and then make them understand in simple terms. Like my passion for teaching started back in the ground school, flight instructor ground school. Like and since then it's just been a passion that I love, like teaching people to fly.
Right. So ipa naanga nenikirom enga talk show da first set of questions so the story, the journey neenga start panna eppadi ipa neenga piloting mudichi flight instructor mudichi, so neenga flight you are into the job. So the timeline is okay. Now we are going into the stories, the interesting stuff of this. So I have some question on that also. Right. So you inspire aviation patti padichinga, internet la paatipinga, the first time getting into an airplane, how is that experience? And first time flying in your own?
the first time getting into an airplane, no pilot will ever forget the first time you get into an airplane. No matter evalo kalam fly panalum, like 20, 30, 40 years fly panalum, your first flight will always be memorable, right? My first time, I still remember like it was yesterday.
Sure, great.
So I got into a smaller plane. I still remember, and then my instructor helped me get the plane started, and then we took off. And the first time the airplane took off from the runway, like you feel this like an unbelievable force that takes this machine about on the air, and then that moment when the aircraft lifts off, and you are in the control for the very first time. Yeah, that I wonder, like it's an unforgettable memory. And then it was on my discovery flight. Yeah, and I still even remember the day. It was I think July 26th of 2014.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that's, as you said, like any pilot will never forget that date. So you precisely remember the date. Even what was the aircraft model?
It was a Piper Tomahawk. It was a 2-seater, and I even remember the tail number. It was November 250 Yankee Alpha. That was the name of the plane. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Right. So just a theoretical question again. So for the people who are interested in studying this, so before you take your plane for the first time, it's about the classes. So how they teach this simulations are a little theoretical. So how that happens?
Well, in the beginning, on the ground school, they teach you the fundamentals of flying, the basics of flying, and then you start in a simulator, like ground level flight simulator. You start, and then after that, you start your flight lessons. So it goes. Once you start your flight lesson, ground school or flight lesson, it goes parallel. Yeah, all the way until you get your license.
Okay, great. So the same question from a different way now. So that is your first flying experience. So the second phase of your life, you become an instructor, right?
Yes.
So the first experience of your student flying, so because you had confidence in your thing, and how old is he? Tell me something about that. So how you attended your class, your first class experience. I'm going to start. You are a small guy conducting classes. You had how many people in your class, and that story?
Well, before I go into the class experience, I'll talk about my first solo and my students' first solo.
Great.
First solo, under like it's something important for every pilot. That's the first time your instructor signs you to fly by yourself. It's called the first solo. Then you control the airplane by yourself. Nobody else is in the plane. And first solo is usually it's in the beginning stages of your first license. Like end of first solo, I still remember. I did not anticipate it. My instructor, we just did some landing practices on that day, and then he got off the plane and he said, "You're ready to go." And I was very nervous. Like I was sweating and I was very nervous. And that was my first time flying the plane by myself. He had complete trust in me. I was terrified, but at the same time, I was excited. I felt like an overwhelming burden on my shoulder because I'm in the flight I want to say for land by myself, right? The first time. So, but once after I landed, it was just overwhelming burden became an overwhelming pride. Now, okay, it's the first time you landed the plane by yourself, Anyway, so now 3 years later, I am sending my student to fly for the first time by himself. I was more nervous
than that. Exactly.
Because if he crashed, like
you signed and sent him.
I have to sign him. So only as an instructor, I know when the student is ready to fly by himself.
Yeah, how do you know that? Right. It's like not theory, right? So you just get the feeling. Every other he's okay to fly.
At the first, I remember my first student that I signed was a kid. He was 18, I think 16 years old.
That's
good.
He
was a kid. He was 16 or 17, and his name was Sean. I think in the video, in your photo video, I think there was a picture of him. So
Okay.
like that was the first student that I signed up. And usually like what we do is now students are like we teach them to take off the plane by themselves, land the plane by themselves, and like we teach them to communicate to the tower by themselves.
Okay.
When we feel like they're ready to do everything by themselves,
Hmm.
we ask them to fly by themselves and sign. I want to like we have something called the logbook where we record all the flight hours. I sign him off for the flight.
Right.
So I have to say I was very nervous. Like when I like more than when I fly by myself, because this is somebody else's life I am in charge of.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was my experience first time. But
Right.
now I have signed more than 50 people to fly solo. So now I'm very confident and comfortable. In the beginning, I would be outside where looking up at the sky.
Ah,
I have a handheld radio, so like which I use to listen to the students. This is my handheld radio. I
okay.
can even communicate to them from the ground. It's like a walkie-talkie, man.
Okay. Right. Hmm.
So, but now I just come inside, sit, have
And
a
stay
tea,
safely.
relax.
So how many students it got? எத்தனை பேர் இருக்காரன்னு fly பண்ணதுக்கு பிறகு வந்து you come and sit inside? Maybe 5,
After
10?
some time, after some time you feel confident. You feel confident in your ability to judge the students' skills. Yeah.
Right. So just an additional question onto that level. So that was a first student, right? Any student older than you? So elder or all நீங்க படிச்சு
Oh,
கொடுத்த experience?
well, most of my students are older than me.
Obviously,
Like
yes.
90% of my students are older than me.
Have to be.
Like I had students who were in their 60s.
Yeah. That,
who
so
are close to,
any story like that? Elderly person?
especially on my ground school, I would have students from all ages, like men and women, boys and girls. And most of them, they all come from most of them international, some of them locals. They all come together with one passion to fly. So they just want to learn to fly, simple as that. And the reason like, and it just says that there's no age to follow your dreams or passion. Like I'll just talk about this one person who was 63 years old.
63.
And he was a retired army, and our ones are like he always wanted to be a pilot, but he never had a chance to be a pilot.
Okay.
Because he was in the military, and then he was working to support his kids, and then his wife died 2 years before he started training. So he saved all the retirement money, and he came to fly. And I took him to fly for the very first time, and he was like a kid when the plane took off.
Okay.
Just to show that like there's no age to follow your dreams.
Exactly. Great. So then there's a common question again, like we need, right, every personal life journey there will be challenges, right? So
Yes.
So specifically for this question, I want the students to know that, right? So in the ambition, in the journey, in the main challenges in. So from the beginning, if you can list few, that was and how you overcame, right? That was a life lesson for students.
Well, challenges and aviation, I see them as two similar words, because aviation is full of challenges. Right? Because we have so many different factors, really like external factors in the field, like that could affect our daily job, like weather. Like weather could change, and there'll be no flights today. Sometimes in the winter, 2 weeks ago to fly to Manila, like everything gets canceled because with bad snowstorm, and maintenance, aircraft maintenance, unexpected maintenance could change the whole schedule. So that happens all the time. Like let's say for a flight in the morning of the flight, found something is wrong with the plane. You don't want to take chance. Car mari, you can't take a chance. Something goes wrong, you will be dead. So everything changes. So me personally, when I was going for in the commercial exam, I had to reschedule the exam 4 times because of weather. Because at the time it was during the winter. So every time I schedule the exam, when the day of the exam comes, though it's either windy or it's bad weather to fly. So 4 times. It took me just 2 months just scheduling the exam. 2 months for like exam is scheduled for me. Like, so these are like daily challenges that we face. And on top of that, I have me personally, I had nobody to help. Like, I had to wake up in the morning, cook to bring food to
Yes.
the
Let
school
me
or
tell
work.
that bit about, because how you were dedicated to your task. Because நீங்க ஒரு வேற கண்ட்ரில இருக்கிறீங்க, there is no support, studies, training, எல்லாமே இருக்குது. ஸோ நீங்க இது எப்படி கோல் ஓரியன்டா இருந்தீங்க? ஸோ how you managed to make yourself focused, how you motivated yourself in your own?
Well, when you have your heart on something, when you have your passion on something, right? All these obstacles, all these obstacles and problems that comes in your life, like it's just like, even though you get all these problems in life, you turn this into motivation and just face it every day by one day at a time, because there are obstacles and like all it was because of my passion. Like, I had to sacrifice a lot of my comfort because of my passion. Like, I had to sacrifice my family, my friends back home, and everything just in the passion of follow up. So I turned my passion and determination into my motivation. You get it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's a very thing, like students. So turning passion and determination, passion into motivation. So if you have passion, நீங்க ஏதாவது முன்னல அதீத ஆர்வமுடைய ஆவலுடைய ஆசையுடையதா இருந்தாங்கன்னு சொன்னா அது உங்களை ஆட்டோ செல்ஃப் மோட்டிவேட் பண்ணும். So that's a very good message. And then again, Aazim, this is a special question audience-க்கும் ஆன ஒரு very interesting question. இது இந்த கொஸ்டனுக்கு நீங்க மிகவும் கவனமா இதுக்கு இந்த ஒரு ஸ்டோரி உங்களோட இந்த ஜேர்னில from pilot to flight instructor, the entire journey la unforgettable incident undu irundha neenga enata sonneenga nethu. So I want that incident to be shared, right, in detail.
Yes, I have many, but I will talk about the most unforgettable.
Most one, yeah. First, and if we have time, we will talk another.
Yeah, so this was back in 2017, March 31st, 2017. At the time, now I was working with more than 20 students.
Okay.
And I usually I would do like 4 flights a day, like 4 flights, 3 flights. I was working for a flight school, and it was a very clear sunny day, and this was my last flight of the day, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening, like last flight of the day. And I was flying with my student who was sitting to my left, and I had another student who was sitting in the back seat.
Okay.
We flew from Hartford, it's another city, to this airport where I'm right now, Tweed, New Haven. And we landed here, and then we took off from this airport, and we were flying towards the east. Up like I hear a loud bang sound on the engine.
Coming from backside or side?
Coming from the engine.
Engine, okay.
Yes, coming from the engine. And then I took over the controls. Now usually the students flies and the instructor, I observe everything. When something goes wrong, I have to take over the controls. So I take over the controls, I see what's wrong. I don't see anything wrong in like we have something called altimeter that shows you the altitude you're flying at, and we have something called the airspeed indicator. The car la the speedometer marithan airspeed indicator shows the speed. And then we also have something called the tachometer, shows the engine power, RPM. So usually if there is something wrong, you see changes in the tachometer, engine power. Anyway, so I take over the control, I don't see anything wrong. 2 minutes later, inner bang, very subtle.
Okay.
When the second bang happened, the engine power dropped. Usually we were climbing out when you climb out, you need to have at least 2,300 RPM, but it dropped down to 1,000.
Oh, from
Dropped down to
2000 to 1000 within few minutes. Okay. So
within few seconds after the
oh,
bang.
great. Huh.
Yeah, so now this is not a good sign because engine is quitting. So I took over the control, and the airport only for 4 miles from where I'm at. 4 miles.
From where are you? Okay, so in which height you are flying now? When this
2,600 feet, I think. 2,600 feet.
2,600
Yeah.
feet.
Anyway, and I hear this second bang. I took over the controls. Now I have to prepare for an emergency landing. Emergency landing could be anywhere as long as or a road muddy, like or ground parking in the land panel. But I had to prepare for it now because now this is not a good sign. The engine is failing.
Okay.
So it's a single engine aircraft, meaning or engine panel. If that fails, there's no power.
Oh, God.
The airplane will come down when you throw like a paper on a visa. Every airplane will just come down.
Oh.
Like it'll glide. So my drop power, it will glide.
Right.
So anyway, so I had to prepare for the emergency and I called the tower. So we have a specific term we use, emergency, mayday, mayday, mayday. When you say mayday, everything has to stop in the airspace, like everything, because I get the priority. So all the other aircraft has to turn around. I get the priority because I'm an aircraft in distress, aircraft in emergency. I turn around to come back, but from my judgment, I can't make it to the airport. It's too far. So I'm preparing to land on a road, highway. But at the same time, I'm trying to troubleshoot. No, I'm trying to restart the plane. At the moment, I have a little bit of power. Konjam power, I can glide the plane. So what I decided was there was an airport with a closed runway. So I decided to go for that. So I tell the tower that I'm going for the closed runway. So they prepare everything. They have the ambulances ready. They have police ready. Everything is ready for me to land. I glide the plane all the way to the closed runway, and somehow, miraculously, I land the plane and I was able to walk out in one piece, and my student too, and nothing happened to the plane.
Yeah, great one.
And after that, the NTSB, which is National Transportation Safety Board, took over the investigation.
So
I was
after
in this.
The incident or the investigation happens. Yeah, normal.
Investigation happens to find out what happened with the airplane.
So is it a failure of the pilot, or that can be also, no?
Right. Yeah, it could be a human error. It could be a mechanical error. So it could be anything. It could be. So they start the investigation. They start off with me first as the pilot.
Okay.
So I remember it was in this very conference room, same conference room I met, right? I was with 6 different people. I spoke to them for 8 hours.
8 hours.
Giving my statement. And then they said I did everything correct according to the books.
Great.
And then they started with the plane. And they found out there was a mechanical issue. We have 4 cylinders, like when most of the car lamari 4 cylinders. Cylinder 1 and cylinder 3 failed. The first bang, Saptam on the cylinder 1.
Okay.
Second bang was cylinder 3. So cylinder 1 and 3 failed. That was the reason. And by the time I was kind of like all over the news here.
Because of this successful landing. So Aazim.
Yeah. So, but that was very unforgettable, because 90% of the engine failure emergency people die, so just to come out alive and to have a story to tell, that's, I had to thank God,
Alhamdulillah. Yeah. Great.
So that's I always relate this story in ground classes. I use this for teaching too, but and I should have, my student, he did not panic. He was helping me with whatever I asked for. So yeah, we made it alive, and it helped me to get a better job at a better flight school after that because of that one landing.
So you become a hero overnight. So because of your skills, so that's what there. So you just converted the opportunity. So just a simple basic question in terms. So in such situations, so we know about this black box. So in this type of aircraft, black box is there. Or it's a different thing. So just for
No, we don't have black box in
black
small
box,
aircraft. No.
it's on the way. Right.
These
Cool.
are training airplanes, small aircraft. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Just a heads up regarding the time, Aazim. So as we plan, up until 8:15, we will drag the discussion, and 8:15 to 8:30, there is that surprise thing we are going to give to the audience, and then 8:30 to 8:45, we will have the question. So audience, 8:30 to 8:45 varangati ungalukana questions direct pannalam. So I'm just on track with the time. So unforgettable mention. Right. So then a question like this. In your journey, like again, just for inspiration for students. So give us some examples when we are mainly studying and striving towards the journey, the level of hard work put, some numbers, the efforts, the sacrifices, so maybe some examples so that students know that this much of hard work the success.
Well, I realized nothing in life is worthwhile if you don't take risk. Like you have to make some sort of sacrifice, right? Like you can't stay in the comfort zone and then expect to go places. You have to make sacrifices. I had to sacrifice my family. Like in the family, like since I last saw my mom, it's 6 years since I last saw my mom, and I'm planning to take them here next year, inshallah.
Inshallah.
6. So I'm actually 5 years. So like it was like every Eid, every year, I was by myself.
Only.
My family, yeah. So I'm just saying all these are sacrifices just to follow my dreams. So and you come across a lot of obstacles, especially when you're by yourself and there's nobody else to like help you or guide you. And but like this is what you choose. Like it doesn't have to be aviation. Another passion, another field, like you will get problems and obstacles. But if you have a passion for something, you shouldn't give it up. Like go for it. Just face it. Every time you fail, it's just one step closer to success, right?
Exactly.
So and just don't be afraid to fail. That's all I can say. Like this, you will fail. That's for sure. Everybody will fail. Though we shouldn't go and in life just chasing for success. Expect the failures. We will fail, fall down. We will embarrass ourselves, but that's what makes who we are, right? So just make the sacrifices and chase your dreams, and that's what's going to get you to places.
Right. So since we are a bit ahead of the time, I have another question, another time for another unforgettable incident, so the audience will love. Any other unforgettable incident?
Well, I took one of my older students. He was close to his 70s to flying one. First time he came to fly. Our one like almost 70 years old.
70?
The first time, almost 70, but he was in his 60s. Our first time our fly Popole, right? And we took off from the airport, and I'm climbing out. The first time flying, so he started getting panic. He started panicking. He started getting nervous, and we have some. I'm not sure any hyperventilation, but I'm not sure if the audience heard about it. When you are nervous, you start breathing rapidly, and carbon dioxide supply goes down. So there's an imbalance of carbon dioxide, and you get hyperventilated. He started getting hyperventilated. So like in the plane, the one the rendu controls like on the left side and the right side, and they both are attached together, connected together. So if I move the one on the left, on the right, the left moves. Likewise, same side. He was holding this with a strong grip, the controls, and he was breathing hard.
Okay.
And I thought he was going to get a heart attack. This is like we are in 3,000 feet.
3,000 feet.
I had to drag his arm, like because That's the only way I can land the plane safely.
Yeah.
I'm turning back to come. So to the point where I had to like, he's like in coma, Lamar, right?
Oh,
He's like in
God.
coma. He's breathing hard,
Okay.
and then I had to drag it just to come back and land safely. Just to come back and land safely on the airport. And that things like that happen. And there's one more incident I can just remember on the top of the head is once we were flying inside the clouds. One of the other big challenges in aviation is icing. Like icing. So like water, tanya on the freezer water like takes hours to for the liquid to turn into ice. But in some conditions, we will get icing in seconds in the airplane. In certain conditions. So we were inside the clouds. Clouds will fly on a is like milk jar, milk like everything is white. You don't see anything. So you're just flying by the instruments. That's why it's called instrument flying. So anyway, and I don't see the wings. I don't see anything. And I'm white. Well, when I come out of the clouds, the whole plane is covered in ice.
So
like
the rapid
2-inch
icing.
thick, 2-inch thick ice, and the plane is not climbing, so it's dropping. So we had to make a landing immediately, and we were inside the cockpit because ice.
I saw it.
So things like this happen, like there's so many stories.
Great. So then I have again the set of questions I had. So who are the people whom you like to thank in your journey? Like, because I think people back at home, family members, mother, father, எல்லாரும் பார்த்துட்டு இருப்பாங்க. Again, your friends and family. So I want it, since it's live and every camera, and say any special person, A to Z, you can say. They would love to.
Well, I want to thank my parents for sure. They're the reason behind where I am today. Because, my parents put their trust, and they had to make a lot of sacrifice to be to send me here and to stay away from me. And and the only way I communicate is through the WhatsApp, so or FaceTime. So that's the only way I communicate. Other than that, I haven't seen them for years. So that's a sacrifice. It's just not just from me, but from them too, to sacrifice their kid. And I have to thank them. And then I want to thank one of my father's friends, Mr. Zubair. He helped me. He was kind of a mentor, and he helped me to be where I am at today too. So, and all the rest of my family, they supported, and stayed with me throughout the journey. I want to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt. Could we start the demonstration now?
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So we are up with the time now. So I have one final question, so that I will ask after the demonstration. Right?
Sure.
So
Yeah, we can continue after the demonstration.
Right. So students, இப்போ நாங்க நடக்க போறது என்னன்னு சொல்றேன். So Aazim live போய் ஏர்போர்ட்ல இருந்து அவரோட ஸ்டூடெண்ட் ஒருவருக்கு வர சொல்லிக்கிறாரு. அவர் இப்ப வருவாரு. So he will be doing a live demonstration. எப்படி ஃப்ளை பண்ண போறேன், அவர் எப்படி படிச்சு கொடுக்க போறாரு, ரூட்டின் ஜாப்ல எப்படி செய்ய போறான்றத அவர் இங்க பாப்பாரு. ஸோ அவர் மொபைல் போனோட தான் அந்த இடத்துக்கு பேசி கொண்டு இருப்பாரு. அது மட்டும் நாங்க இந்த கன்வர்சேஷன்ல கண்டினியூஸா பார்த்து கொண்டு இருக்கலாம். ஸோ உங்களுக்கு இந்த டெமான்ஸ்ட்ரேஷனுக்கு போறோம், we will be having the question and answer session. So உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது கொஸ்டின் இருந்தான்னு சொன்னா chat boxல போடலாம். அதுல நாங்க selected questions எங்க டைமுக்கு ஏத்த மாதிரி priority பண்ணி நாங்க அந்த டெமான்ஸ்ட்ரேஷனை உங்களுக்கு தருவோம். அதாவது ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் இந்த டெமான்ஸ்ட்ரேஷன் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ண மட்டும் நான் உங்களுக்கு பேரண்ட்ஸ் பார்த்து கொண்டு இருப்பாங்க. அனைவருக்குமான முக்கியமான டேக் அவேஸ் இன் திஸ் ஜர்னி, ரைட்? நீங்க அனைவரும் பார்த்துருப்பீங்க, ஆசிம் சின்ன காலத்துல ஜஸ்ட் 8 years ஓல்ட்ல ஒரு ட்ரீமுக்காக இன்ஸ்பயர் ஆகிருக்கிறார். ஸோ அந்த லைஃப்ல அவர் ஒரு ட்ரீமுக்காக இன்ஸ்பயர் ஆகிறதுக்கு போறோம். அவர் அதுக்காக அதிகமான தேடல் ஈடுபட்டிருக்கிறார். அது இன்டர்நெட்ல இருக்கலாம், பீப்புளா இருக்கலாம். ஸோ தட் டிரைவ்ஸ் எனி பர்சன். உங்களோட லைஃப்ல எந்த ஒரு ட்ரீமா இருந்தாலும் நீங்க ஒரு ட்ரீம் ஒன்று கிரியேட் பண்ணிட்டு நீங்க அதுக்காக டெடிகேஷன் இருக்கணும், டெவலப் பண்ண வேணும், நீங்க அதை பத்தி சர்ச் பண்ண வேணும், நீங்க அதுக்காக என்ன செய்யலாம்னு பார்க்க வேணும். இப்படி நீங்க எஃபர்ட் போட்டுக்கொண்டு இருக்கும் போது இறைவன் இடத்திலிருந்து எதிர்பாராத ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டிஸ் உங்களுக்கு வரும். ஆசிம், are you okay for you to start it again?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, yeah, right, okay. Right.
Actually, in the airport. Oh, I have one student here. She's a private pilot.
Right.
She's gonna do a pre-flight.
Yeah, audience, just an information. நாங்க நேத்தி பிளான் பண்ணும்போதே ஒரு சேலஞ்ச் இருந்துச்சு. அவரோட கான்ஃபரன்ஸ் ரூம்ல மாதிரி இல்ல, ஏர்போர்ட்ல வந்து ரன்அவேல போய் டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணும்போது sometimes there can be challenges, coverage issues வரலாம், but still we are trying the very best for you. Okay, Aazim, go ahead.
I'm actually walking to the airport.
Okay. Yeah, can you please show around if possible?
That's the control tower.
Yes.
It's where we park all the airplanes.
So which is the flight you are going to take it? Flight which is in the corner.
Only 12 knots.
Oh.
All right, so my student, she's gonna do the pre-flight inspection. She's gonna get in the plane. She's gonna check if the plane is safe to fly.
The pre-flight inspection, right? Okay, I'll echo yourself if
Yes.
it's not clear for the audience. Okay.
All right, just gonna open the plane here. Go ahead. So she's getting in the plane right now. So what she's gonna do is she's gonna start off checking the lights, and she's gonna start off with the electrical checks first. So
Right. So the electrical, the basic checks are going on. Fine. Super. Right.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, exactly. You can see you also.
Okay.
Super.
All right. So she just turned on the battery, and then she just turned on the lights. So we are gonna go out and check for the lights. Make sure everything is working. So we have a light on this side on the wingtip.
Okay.
We have a landing light right here.
Okay.
So what she's doing is she's walking around checking for the lights. So I'm just observing what she's doing.
Okay. So she prepares the report and submit to you so that you give the permission to fly. Is it so?
Yes.
Right.
So I'm just sitting back and standing back, I should say, standing back and observing what she's doing.
Right.
Because since she's a private pilot, she knows all this stuff. Only I involve if she missed something or if she makes a mistake.
Right.
Now, she checked all the light. Is all the lights working good? All right. So now she's gonna get in and turn off the battery and the lights. Now, once she completes the electrical check, she's gonna start off with the mechanical check. So she's gonna extend the flaps. So, like, this is the steering.
Okay,
Like
great.
Carla on the steering wheel, Mari. This we call the yoke. So this we call the yoke. So like when a ground lavanda, you can't use it to steer the plane. Ground lavanda, idu vandu onnum seyyadu. Right? When you fly, like you can turn the plane using this. We call it banking.
Oh,
And when you pull back, the plane goes up. When you push forward, the plane goes down.
oh, okay.
Okay, so
Right.
extend the flaps. Come on, real quick. So what she just did was she just extend something we call the flaps. So she's checking and making sure everything is working fine. A pre-flight inspection is very, very important before you go flying, because airplane safe on the park it's very necessary. Make sure she just opened the engine cover. So she's checking for the spark plugs, making sure it's attached to the cylinder. This is the cylinder, by the way. Cylinder 1 and cylinder 2.
Cylinder, yeah.
And she's gonna check the oil. The oil should be between 6 and 8 quarts. Is good? Yeah.
Aazim, just a question like.
Sure, go ahead. You can ask me
audience asking whether you're going to fly, right?
No, I'm gonna finish the Q&A and then go fly.
That's not that, because students, if we get Aazim to fly, he'll be disconnected from our connections and we can't have the Q&A.
Yeah.
Right?
But I can invite you guys to join me to a flight maybe sometime in the future. You guys through Skill Masters could organize another program, so I could invite you guys to join on one of my lessons.
Exactly. Like so, yeah, audience, even Aazim said that he's more than happy to have a session, and to the students who are interested in learning this, so we'll arrange that one separately.
Yes, so she's checking for the brake fluids on this side and also the spark plugs. Like car engine Mariatan, like 4 cylinder, like car engine, every cylinder has 1 spark plug, but on this one, every cylinder has 2 spark plugs. That's the only difference. So this is the propeller. We call the propeller. Like it spins when you start the engine. So she's complete with the mechanical check. So once she checked the other side of the wing and the elevator, we call this the elevators. That will complete the mechanical check. And finally, I'm just rushing this because I don't want to drag this.
Make sure that you follow the process, because some.
Yeah, because I'm not going to fly now. I'm going to fly after, and I have to do another thorough pre-flight. I have to do a thorough one. So she's going to check for the fuel now. So check the fuel on the wing. All right, let me see that. All right. Engine fuel just to make sure there is no contamination of water inside.
Oh, okay.
So if there is water will be, you will see bubbles in the bottom. Water is more dense than fuel, so water will deposit in the bottom. So this looks clear. So she will put this back in the tank. Fuel tank one, the aircraft wings left wing loader tank, right wing loader tank. So she just put the fuel back on the tank.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what is the like weight of this flight? The small one, how much? Around
Around 2,000 pounds.
2,000 pounds. Okay.
Yeah, so she just summed the fuel from the wings and she's gonna put it back after she checked. Good? Good to fly? All right. I'll see you back in there. All right, she's gonna do a more thorough one and then she's gonna fly after. We can go back inside.
Right. So audience, like, yeah, on track with the time, Aazim. Great. So they'll be throwing questions at you. So I'll just collect them. The control room, you just now the when our audience ka question and answers ka open panna porom. So our questions வந்து Facebookலயும் அடுத்து எங்கட program Zoomலயும் chatல போடலாம். நாங்க அதை வந்து selective பண்ணி டைமுக்கு ஏத்த மாதிரி நாங்க question இது பண்ணிட்டு போலாம். So people asking, so what is the time there? Students asking.
It's 10:53 morning, 10 almost 11 o'clock in the morning.
Right. So this is your first flight of the day. Let's session.
Yes. Well, the first flight was in the morning, early morning, but because of the program, I had to push it to 12 o'clock is my first flight.
Right. So normally how many sessions you have per day?
Weekends, like this, during these times, weekends, I would do like 3 flights, maybe sometimes 4 flights, because most of the people fly during the weekends. Weekdays, the 1 or 2.
Right. Great. So normally a ride, so when a student flies, so how long it takes to complete it?
It depends. Training the end stage it depends. So sometimes if you're in the beginning, every lesson 1.5 hours to 2 hours. But exam situation for only like 3-4 hour lessons to the
Rushdi, someone asking about the costing, aviation cost, expenses, everything.
Right. So Aazim, yeah, maybe Aazim's when you come to the seat, we'll have the direct questions, no?
Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm just asking rough questions about it. So Aazim, seat ku vandu settle ஆனது அப்புறம் நாங்க உங்க questions audience question கொடுப்போம். அது மட்டும் நான் just rough questions ask பண்ணிருக்கோம். Okay. Yeah, I just come and settle in your seat, Aazim.
Rushdi sir, Rushdi, அது வரைக்கும் நான் கேள்வியை வாசிக்கிறேன். அப்ப உங்களுக்கு ஈஸியா இருக்கும். ஒரு ஸ்டூடண்ட் கேட்டிக்கிறாரு.
Okay.
Wait just a minute. Yes. ஒரு ஸ்டூடண்ட் கேள்வி வந்திருக்குது, கேர்ள்ஸுக்கும் பைலட் ஆகிற சம்பந்தமாக ஒப்பீனியன் கேட்டிருக்குது.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Right. I'll ask.
இன்னொரு ஆள் கேட்டிருக்கிறார், who is your role model?
Okay, that I noted.
Okay. ஸ்பெஷலா அந்த கேர்ள் கேட்டிருக்கிற முஸ்லிம் கேர்ள்ஸ் வந்து பைலட் ஆகிற சம்பந்தம், what is your opinion?
Okay.
அவங்களோட ஃப்ரீ டைம்ல என்ன செய்றீங்க? எப்படி அவங்களோட ஃப்ரீ டைம் போகுது? Very interesting questions.
That's
like Aazim. Rushdi sir?
Yeah, Aazim, you're a bit breaking. Yeah, Aazim has a sibling, yes. Aazim has a sister. Other question நானே ஆன்சர் பண்ணிட்டேன். She is following medicine.
That's very good.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you hear me?
Yeah, partially. So students, can you stop the questions until Aazim comes and settles, because we are going to miss the questions in the chat when it goes up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Aazim, quick questions, simple questions now until you get settled. Right, who is your role model?
My role model in aviation?
Maybe, yeah.
Amelia Hart, she's a woman. Look it up.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Well, a question about the women. Half of my students are women. A lot of women fly, and there are a lot of women pilots. One of my students who just did the pre-flight is she's a very good pilot too, and she's actually here. And I would like her to answer in a woman's perspective, so the girls and the women who are looking would get a better idea. So I'm just gonna put her for a minute, so she would answer that in a woman's perspective. So what made her fly? Hold on.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure.
Hello,
yes.
hold on. This is my student, Trish. Okay.
Hello, it's great to have you. And we have a lot of people from Sri Lanka watching this. And most of the students are asking what is, from a woman's perspective, how it is to flying. So the involvement of women in flying, how you feel it?
Ask him to repeat it.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, could you go over the question? Because I think the connection just
Yes,
paused
yes,
when
no
you did.
problem. We are happy to repeat. So from a woman's perspective, being a pilot, so how challenging is it? So what or how it is? I can't ask how challenging it is. So a woman perspective of being a pilot, that's all.
Well, thank you for this brief time, but being a woman and being in aviation, it's, you know, hearing a woman getting into aviation, it's very like iffy because you think of a man domination, but or a male domination, but being a woman pilot is, you know, it's a great feeling knowing that you can do exactly what a man can do, where, you know, in those minds, people would say, well, you know, it's more of a male profession than a woman. But then I would just want to say to the young ladies out there, or female in general, who have a passion or who might have a passion for flying, that the sky is never the limit. You know, you can do anything you want to do, and it's an awesome experience. It's a great opportunity for yourself. Like, the greatest thing is to just push the power in and pull the yoke back, and you know, it just so it suits the mind, put it that way.
Exactly.
It's like if you tell yourself, today I feel like having ice cream, it's like, you know, just pushing the power, pulling the yoke back, it's like going and having ice cream. So it's awesome. It's a great feelings for women.
Great. Thanks a lot for your time, and our kids are pumped to see you speaking like this. Thanks a lot from Sri Lanka.
Well, thanks for having me.
Great. Aazim, we have a set of questions. I'll just throw one by one. So
Sure.
again, so just to this question, few students are linking it to the Muslim community. So how Muslim women are in aviation? So you have any friends or any experience related to?
Yeah, I mean, the faith shouldn't be a problem as long as the passion is there to fly. Because I have students from Pakistan who like Muslim female students from Pakistan who fly. So as long as, you know, just you're able to hold your faith and you're able to follow your religious activities while following your dreams or chasing your dreams, it shouldn't be a problem, you know. Religion or faith or any other it shouldn't be a problem.
Great. So, Mr. Azmi, so I will ask the set of questions in the chat, and then we'll open up the voice questions, right? So, okay. Then what you do in the free time?
Just like anybody else, I go out, explore the city. I sometimes go for a movie, or just like anybody else. I have, like, I love adventure. I go fishing. I do different things to explore, and I actually went to NASA last week for the very first time. And one of the pictures you put up on the video, I'm standing behind the rocket. That's the rocket they put up to the moon when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin went. So that's the actual rocket.
So we had the selected pictures, luckily. Great.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Then a student is asking about aircraft engineering, how much it costs. So I think first question is to clarify for everyone, aircraft engineering and piloting is two things, right? Tell about that. And then the cost of rough cost to become a pilot. That's what everyone wants to know.
Well, it's expensive. It's not a cheap. It's not a cheap industry. Well, I should say field of education. It's expensive, but remember, like
most of my students, they work full time, they make the money, they come on the weekends and fly. So
Yeah.
there's always a way. Okay, like financial situation shouldn't be the end for your passion. There's always a way. Like you could always make money somehow and then follow your passion. Like it doesn't have to be now, down the road, in the future, But as long as you have the passion and as long as you chase your dream, you will eventually figure out a way.
Right. And an interesting question from a young kid. So when you landed in America as a young kid, right, it's a teen, like, so how did you manage your spiritual needs, like in a westernized country?
Well, it's actually a very good question. It's not easy in the beginning because at the time, I had to go find. I didn't have a vehicle, so I was using the public transportation. So I was at the time mostly a vegetarian because you don't trust the meat they sell. So, but now it was difficult at the time. But my parents are always there to remind me my faith, and your faith shouldn't be a burden, or I mean, your passion shouldn't be a burden, obstacle for your faith. Because and nowadays, I travel by myself. I have my own vehicle, so I go, to the masjid or wherever I want to, and yeah, but that's it was tough in the beginning. Yeah.
Right. So I'm with another few questions. I'll just open it up for the people to ask directly from you. So quick questions.
Okay.
Where are you? In which part of USA you are in?
I'm in Connecticut. That's the state. It's close to New York. It's next to New York.
Right. And there's a question. I think that question is always part of our question also. Do you have any plans? So this is my question I'm asking on behalf of Sincere. So what are your future plans, students? Do you have some interesting information about him? In terms of a career, you have some plans, no? What are they in terms of your career and what you're thinking to give back to the country you are born?
Well, my plans right now is starting my own flight school. So I have been working on it for like almost a year now. Inshallah, by next year, I will start a very small flight school with one plane. And in terms of giving back, festivus on Madrid, like I will invite you guys to join my classes so you can learn aviation, you can learn to fly. That's the best. Give it to everybody, because when I grew up, I had no mentorship, nobody else to guide me. But what I can do is, give what I missed. Like I can invite you guys to join me to learn to fly. You could, and I'll work along with Skills Master Studios, and then we could come up with a program in the future to learn the to participate in my ground school.
Great. So control rooms, are we giving some opportunities for students?
Yeah, Rishti sir, just அதை கொஞ்சம் எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணுங்க ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸுக்கு. ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் நான் நினைக்கிறேன் ரிஷ்டி, அதாவது யாருக்கு விருப்பம் ஏவியேஷன் ஃபீல்ட்ல யாருக்கு படிக்கிறதுக்கு விருப்பமோ அவங்களுக்கு ஸ்கில்ஸ் மாஸ்டர் ஸ்டுடியோஸ் அதுக்குரிய ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டியை ஆசிம்கிட்ட படிக்கிறதுக்கு அவங்களுக்கு சில விஷயத்த லேர்ன் பண்றதுக்கான ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டியை நாங்க கிரியேட் பண்ணி தருவோம் அந்த பிளாட்ஃபார்மை. am I correct ரிஷ்டி?
எக்ஸாக்ட்லி. அகைன் ஆசிம் சொன்ன மாதிரி இன்ட்ரெஸ்டான இப்ப இதுல இருக்கிற 200 பேர் பாத்துக்கிட்டு 200 பேரும் பைலட் ஆகிறத விட யூ ஹேவ் டு ஹேவ் தட் பேஷன். நீங்க ஆல்ரெடி ஸ்டடி பண்ணணும், இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கா சர்ச் பண்ணி இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இருந்தா நாங்க உங்களை டிரெக்ட் பண்ணிடுவோம். ஆசிம் சொன்னது மாதிரி ஆசிம் ஒரு பிளேன் ஒன்று வாங்கி அவரோட ஓன் ஸ்கூல் ஒன்று இன்ஷால்லா பை நெக்ஸ்ட் இயர் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ண போறோம். ஸோ அதோட கனெக்ட் ஆகி இருக்கலாம். பட் until that we can connect to his current lessons also. Am I correct, Aazim?
Yes.
And exactly, and ஆசிம் சொன்ன மாதிரி yesterday எங்களோட சொன்னார், யூடியூப்ல வந்து ஃப்ரீயா இல்லாத ஒரு லெசன்ஸ் தான் இந்த பைலட்டிங் சம்பந்தமான. ஸோ இட்ஸ் ஆல் காஸ்ட்லி. ஸோ ஆசிம் இப்படியான விஷயங்களை ஃப்ரீ ஆஃப் சார்ஜ் ஸ்ரீலங்கன்ஸ் எவ்ரிவனுக்காக ஷேர் பண்ண போறோம். ஸோ தேங்க்யூ வெரி மச் ஆசிம். So we are opening the questions for the audience.
First question from Rimaz Razin. Switch on your video and ask the question. Rimaz.
Yeah, you have to switch on your video. If not, you will not eligible to ask. Yes, go ahead, Rimaz.
Yeah. Sir,
Rimaz, you have to introduce yourself, Rushdi sir. அவர் அறிமுகப்படுத்திக் கொண்டு சொல்லி
Yeah, Rimas, so introduce yourself. How old are you? What are you doing? And then ask your question so that he can customize you to age.
Okay. My name is Rimaz Azeen and I am 10 years old. I'm currently living in Qatar and I'm from Sri Lanka. I'm grade 6 and my question is that where does your mother live? And one more, do you fly aeroplanes? Aeroplane like big aeroplanes.
Big aeroplanes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Rimas?
Yeah.
Hi. Okay. Yeah. To answer your first question, my mother lives in Colombo with my family. My father, my mother, and my sister. Everybody lives in Colombo. And to answer your second question, I fly single engine and multi-engine airplanes. When you say big, you mean like the commercial planes?
Yeah.
Like a big jets? No, I can fly because I have all the requirements, but I fly smaller planes because we can teach only on the smaller planes.
Okay.
Your
Right. I think Rimas, we can give a chance to another person also, no?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Rimas.
Yes, there's a question from say.
Nice to talk to you, Rimas.
Another question from Umar.
My name is Umar Kamil.
I think he's muted.
My name
Yeah.
is Umar
Go ahead,
Kamil.
Umar.
My name is Umar Kamil. I live in Qatar. I'm from Sri Lanka. I'm 10 years old, and I'm in grade 6. And since I was a small child, I loved about flying in the air. So when I was 6 or 7, I wanted to be a pilot, and then from that, for some time I was learning. I was learning about the pilot's cockpit and everything, and then when I was 9 years old, I almost forgot everything. But now I want to be a pilot again, but I don't want to fly passenger airplanes. I want to have a private plane and just fly it. And I don't know if it's a good idea. So I want to be a pilot with a private aeroplane and then be an aircraft engineer.
Well, that's a very good question, Omar. Very good question. Well, you said you want to become a private pilot, not a passenger pilot.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So when you choose to become a pilot, there are many different places you can fly. You can fly for an airline. If you fly for an airline, that's when you carry passengers. You need a ATPL license, airline transport pilot license. And if you could fly for corporate, you could just fly for a company. Then you need a commercial license. Or you could fly like me, like as a flight instructor. Then you need commercial license and certified flight instructor license. Or like you said, you could just get the first license, which is the private pilot license, and just fly for fun. Like how you said, you could fly for fun. So and you could at the same time go for a college and get your aviation degree. You said you want to become a aircraft engineer. Yes, that's a very good profession. I have my own associates in aircraft maintenance, and where when it comes to engineering and mechanics, that's where you learn about the physics behind flying, everything behind flying, how you fly, and not just to maneuver the airplane. So when we as pilots, when we need help in terms of fixing a plane, we go to the mechanics and the engineers.
Right. So, Aazim sir, maybe this time we can give a chance to few girls.
Yeah, but I think Humaira. Yes, Humaira.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum assalam.
I'm Humaira and I'm from Colombo. I just wanted to know about how many failures you faced in your life.
when you were teaching or doing?
That's a very good question, Omaira. That's like I said before, challenges and failures are part of aviation, and I would say just part of any other profession too. Like just one of the example I gave you was scheduling my Czech exams, but it was more sort of a failure because every time I schedule, something happens with the weather, and then I had to reschedule, and because of that, it pushed my plans back, and then I had to wait for another extra 3 to 4 months. So failures is just part of life, just like last 2 weeks before I was supposed to fly an airplane, but before we fly we realized that so we have something called the alternator, which powers the electrical instruments, which it failed. So and we had to ground the plane for almost a month, and it's still in the maintenance. So it happens all the time in terms of like obstacles. It's something that as pilots we face almost every other day, but that shouldn't be a reason to stop you from doing what you do. That shouldn't be a reason to stop you from following your passion. You have to understand at one point all these failures is part of life and part of what you do, so yeah, as long as you make up your mind to face it, make up your mind to face all these challenges, I think you will enjoy the failures too. I know it sounds funny, but if it doesn't matter if it's success or failure, enjoy it and embrace it and face it.
Right. Yeah, who's next? Azmi sir?
Yeah, next we'll go chance to Maud Jeffrey. Maud Jeffrey.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yeah. கொஞ்சம் உங்களோட வீடியோவை ஸ்விட்ச் ஆன் பண்ணி கொண்டு கேட்டீங்கன்னா நல்லா இருக்கும்.
Yeah, yes, please, because we want to see your face and Aazim want to see your face, and that's the happiness we can bring in. Okay.
Yes, Maud.
So I'm Imad, living in Colombo and studied in DSNI College. I have chosen art stream for my A-levels. And I would like to ask that how to become an aeronautical engineer. And my second question is, what's the difference between aircraft engineer and aeronautical engineer? And third question is, I want to also ask about what is aerospace engineering. And also, I want to ask that what are the opportunities present in Sri Lanka for the aeronautical engineering and the related sites? Okay, that's all. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hi, Bob. Yeah, you asked me for the differences between airspace engineering and aeronautical engineering and the opportunities in Sri Lanka. Yes, so well, the difference is one is about aircraft, the one is about mostly about space-related vehicles, airspace, and in terms of aeronautics, if you take a country like US, we have so many opportunities here, but when you consider or compare a country, a third world country like Sri Lanka, unfortunately the field is not as expand like a country like United States or UK, so the opportunities are very less, but that shouldn't be a reason for you if you have a passion to stop because there are so many different places that you could go and still live your passion. So that's to be honest, that was one of my dreams too, to become an aircraft engineer, but fortunately for me, the piloting worked. So and I decided to stick with this. Yeah, but unfortunately in Sri Lanka it's limited. It's very limited. I know a friend of mine who's an aircraft engineer, and he's doing some. Currently, he's just flying planes until he finds a job. But eventually, you know, in the future, I hope that more opportunities open up in Sri Lanka.
Right. Great. So who's next? So kids, make it specific and short, and make sure you just ask only one question, because so that we can give the chance to other kids to ask the question also.
Yes, Ayash. I think Ayash. Maud. Yes, Maud. Yes, Maud. No, Maud, we can't hear you.
Yes, Maud, there is something going wrong.
Yeah. Okay, Steve, we will
You just
go.
set it up, Maud. There, we will go to another round. Okay. Another girl. Any girls are there?
No, we'll give a chance to Abdullah Nihal.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum.
I am Abdullah Muhammad Nihal, and all I wanted to ask was, what should I study in school in order to become a pilot, and what did you study in your college so it was easier for you to learn the piloting job?
It's a good question, actually. Pay more attention on your math and science class. And I did math for my A-levels, and that's what I did. And then I started my flight training. So pay more attention to your math and especially physics classes.
Right.
Yeah, you like, people think that only the class toppers become pilots or any other professions, but it doesn't have to be. You know, you could rank anywhere in the class as long as you know your fundamentals, and as long as you know your math and physics, you'll be good.
Great. Thanks. What next?
Yeah, next from Shakir Farhan.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Walaikum assalam.
How can I start my journey towards this pilot thing? How can I start?
Well, there's always a start, right? So you want to have an office in the sky? Well, you need to have a goal, right? First, you need to have a goal. What kind of pilot you want to be, right? Like, do you have an idea of what kind of pilot you want to be? Do you want to fly the passenger jets, like the big commercial jets?
No, I want to just start something first, at least something.
Before you start something, you need to have your goals, right? Because you need to have a goal, and then you work towards that goal. Because, like I said before, there are many different aspects of flying in aviation. So, like I said, you could either be an airline pilot, corporate pilot. You could be a test pilot. Test pilot is somebody who tests new aircrafts, tests new aircraft that come out of maintenance. It could be a flight instructor. So once you pick what you want to be, then you have an idea of which school you need to go to or where you have to start. You could go to one of these flight schools and do a discovery flight, right? So discovery flight means that this is basically an introduction to aviation, your first flight lesson. And the instructor will take you for a half an hour or 1 hour flight. And then you get to learn, you get to get control of the plane for the very first time. But like I said, have a goal, and could be anything. You might just want to fly for fun, like one of the brothers said, or you might want to fly for an airline. So just have a goal and start at somewhere. So I would say you start with a discovery flight. There are many flight schools in Sri Lanka. You could go to one of the flight school and ask for a discovery flight. And then once you do your discovery flight, you'll get an idea of flying. You'll get a taste for flying. And then you could start on from there, on whichever you decide to go for.
Great. Okay, audience. So we are running out of time, and we should stop before 9 because the organizing committee has some other commitments by 9. So it's 8:53. So we should, I think, stop at this session by at least 8:57 max. So
yes, sir. We have one more question.
One more question. That's all. Right. Okay. We'll wrap up.
Yes, Muaz Mikash.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm from Colombo 6 days while flying.
Walaikum assalam was. Actually, you're breaking up. Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
What do you do when there's an air block while flying?
I'm sorry. What do I do when there is a...
What do you do when there's an air block while flying?
Air block when flying.
What did you mean by air block? I'm sorry. Like an emergency, you mean?
Yeah, like an emergency.
Okay, that's a very good question. So 70% of the pilot training is to prepare for an emergency. So when you train to fly, we base our training just to react in case of an emergency. So how you react. So we have different types of emergency training: engine failure emergency, fire emergency. Sometimes one of the passengers could get sick or could have a heart attack or die. Well, how do you prepare for it? Sometimes you could get carbon monoxide in the cockpit, and to the point where the pilots could lose conscious. So we have different types of emergency training and preparation. And like I said, 70% of the training is to prepare for an emergency. When it comes to engine failure, we have a particular checklist that we follow. Every aircraft has its own checklist, but the standard we use is we use an acronym. We use ABC acronym. So in case of engine failure, the first thing we do is we try to get the plane for control. We control the plane. We don't panic. We control the plane. It's just like a paper. When you throw the paper, like how the paper glides down to the ground, the plane just glides. It doesn't drop out of the sky. So we need to control the plane and glide it to a safe spot for landing. And we need to pick a best place to land. So that's the B, best place. So it could be a parking lot. It could be a road, something where the airplane could land and roll out. So, and we should make sure we don't damage anything, or we don't put any people in harm. So, and then the next is we troubleshoot the aircraft. We try to troubleshoot. If it's something that could be fixed, we try to fix it. At the same time, we call for the mayday. We call for help. Mayday, mayday, mayday. And this is the aircraft. We have 4 people on the plane. We have an engine failure. And then we tell them our position, and we put a code in the airplane that allows everybody else around to know that we have it transmits a signal saying that we are in distress or in emergency. And then finally we shut down all the fuel lines, because we don't want to land in an emergency, and if the fuel pipes break, it could cause a fire. And we shut down the fuel, and we shut down everything, and we leave only the radios to communicate, and then we land. So we have a checklist that we follow for every scenarios, and every scenario has a different checklist. and different procedure.
Right. Okay. I think we are up with our time. So students, so if you have career related, advice related questions, I think you can drop it to Aazim. So Aazim, to share your email address with us so that you can specifically write to him and get advices from him. So with that, we are coming up to the end of this show. Thank you very much, Jazakumullah Khairan, Aazim, for participating to this show and making it really, really live. The session was amazing. The question and answer sessions were amazing. The stories and everything, I think kids really enjoy. Not only the kids, the people, audience who was joining with us via Facebook also have joined a lot, and maybe a lot of people were telling back home from Himatagam and the network and relatives. They were joining. They were there, I think. So we all are proud of you. And as a country also, we are happy that you are going to give back something to the country, and we will be arranging that for the lessons for the next generation also. So just final 30-second remarks from you, and we can conclude.
Yeah, I just want to take this opportunity to thank the organizers, Skills Master Studios, for organizing this. So I'm able to interact with you, and you're able to interact with me. And I hope this is not the first, and I enjoyed this, and we could have. I'm hoping to see you guys again. And like I said before, I'll talk to the organizers, and I'll set up a program in the future so you could able to join me on one of my ground schools, or and also in flight lesson. So I'll try my best to do it as soon as possible. But if it happens anytime soon, I'm sure the organizers will announce it, and I'm hoping to see you guys soon sometimes. And I thank everybody for joining, and we thank everyone for sitting patiently to hear my story and my journey. And I just want to let you guys know that if someone like me, a small kid from a small town in Sri Lanka, if someone like me could come here and do what I did, anything is possible for you, and you guys could do more than that. And I just want to thank again for everybody here to join me, and hoping to see you guys soon.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Aazim. All the very best, and we pray that all your journeys are flight things are very safe, and may Allah bless you and save you and your students from all the accidents and unexpected things. Enjoy your journey. So over to you, Azmi sir.
Yes,
thank you.
Jazakallah khairan, Aazim and Rushdie. Last 1 month Aazim kondu varumnu solli naanga mechan try panni alhamdulillah நடந்துச்சு. Aazim, thanks lot. Alhamdulillah, Allah Taala அவங்களோட ஜர்னில அவங்களுக்கு bless பண்ணணும். அதோட நீங்க அவங்களோட ஜர்னி அவங்களோட கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணிக்கலாமா, எங்களோட ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸுக்கு சான்ஸ் கொடுத்துக்கிறீங்க. ஸோ நாங்கள் இன்ஷால்லா யாருக்கெல்லாம் ஏவியேஷன் ஃபீல்ட்ல இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இருக்கிறோம், இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இருக்கிறார்கள் கட்டாயம் எங்களோட தொடர்பு கொள்ளுங்க. Aazim அவங்கள கைட் பண்ணுவார். அதுக்கான பிளாட்ஃபார்மா ஸ்கில்ஸ் மாஸ்டர் ஸ்டுடியோஸ் உங்களுக்கு கிரியேட் பண்ணி தரும். எஸ் Aazim, ஜஸாக்கல்லாஹ் ஹைரன் again and again. Thanks lot. இன்ஷால்லா. ஓகே, ப்ரோக்ராமை பெஸ்டா கோஆர்டினேட் பண்ண ருஷ்டி ஹாதிக்கு ஜஸாக்கல்லாஹ் ஹைரன். நீங்க பெஸ்டா அழகா கொஸ்டின் பண்ணீங்க. அதே மாதிரி இந்த ஈவெண்ட் சக்சஸ்ல ரிசோர்ஸ் பேசின மாதிரி நீங்களும் ஸ்கில்ஸ் மாஸ்டர் ஸ்டுடியோக்காக பெரிய ரோல் ஒன்று பிளே பண்ணீங்க. அவர் 2 பேருக்கும் மிச்சம் நாங்கள் தேங்க்ஸ் பண்ணிக்கொண்டு, ஓகே ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ், இதோட இந்த செஷனை நாங்கள் கன்க்ளூட் பண்ணிக்கொள்ளும். ஜஸாக்கல்லாஹ் ஹைரன். அகெயின் நெக்ஸ்ட் வீக் இல்ல, அதுக்கு அங்கல வீக் இன்னொரு பெஸ்ட் அச்சீவரோட நாங்கள் எல்லாரும் மீட் பண்ணுவோம். அது வரைக்கும் உங்களோட இருந்து விடைபெற்றுக் கொள்வார் அஸ்மி இஸ்ஸதீன். அஸ்ஸலாமு அலைக்கும் வரஹ்மத்துல்லாஹி வபரகாத்துஹு. வணக்கம்.